Okay, so let's talk about earnest money. What is earnest money, Chad?
So first of all, earnest money is you're basically symbolizing, or your token or your measurement to the seller of how serious you are about this offer. And it's typically done in the form of cash, okay? Cashier's check, a personal check, wire transfer. I mean, we prefer not to actually have the cash, but it's in the form of money.
Yeah.
And it is something that you put down on a piece of property as part of your offer. It's an amount, and it is at risk to be lost if you don't buy it.
I liked what you said earlier, a down payment to your down payment.
It's a down payment to your down payment. Yep. But it's your down payment. It's at risk, you know.
That's right.
And the seller is going to be motivated to take your offer based on it because they know they might have a chance at getting it. And you put it out there because you like the house that much that you're willing to put it at risk a little bit.
Let's put a ring on it, but not marry it yet.
That's right. That's right.
So Jeremy, when do I give that?
So in the contract on the very first page, you and your agent will walk through line by line on where all of the money is coming from in that transaction. So if we're buying the house for $200,000, we're putting $1,000 earnest money and then a down payment and a loan. In the earnest money section, it tells you, and you decide what to negotiate to the seller, when you'll have the check, when it will be deposited. And so it's really up to you and your agent to make that decision, and it's negotiable.
Okay. Is it non-refundable? So you talked about it being at risk, Chad. If I give it, is it non-refundable? Do I lose it no matter what?
Well, there are terms in the contract that are set up that basically kind of say that. But let's put this in perspective. The seller is never going to accept your offer hoping that it falls apart and they get your earnest money.
Right.
And you're never going to write an offer saying that I hope this deal falls apart and I lose this earnest money, okay? Everybody together wants the deal to work out. And so there are parts of the contract, such as your financing, the inspection period, other parts of the contract that have contingencies to protect your earnest money. Buyers typically have numerous options to get out of the contract as long as they follow the contract. So the odds of losing your earnest money can be quite slim as long as you follow the contract.
Right.
If you decide you want to inspect something at the end of a day or two before closing, then your earnest money is at risk. But if you do everything the way you presented it in the contract that you signed, then your earnest money is pretty safe. But overall, is it non-refundable in general? No, unless you specifically put in the contract, earnest money is non-refundable, which we see that when they're really serious and they're saying, hey, and nobody wants to lose money. So when they put non-refundable in there, they're basically saying, I want this house no matter what.
One of the terms that we talked about in negotiating can be, I'm willing to make my earnest money non-refundable. So maybe I don't have cash. Maybe my closing date is 60 days out. But here's earnest money that I promise you I'll never ask for again if I don't close on the house.
Yep. And as far as us talking before in other videos about having the offer simplifying, well, taking out the contingency of earnest money really simplifies an offer. So that is a strong hand that you're putting forth if you do say it's non-refundable. But it is pretty risky.
Yeah.
You're basically, I'm losing that money.
Yeah, you're saying
If
you're
I
going to
don't
buy it no
close,
matter what.
that money's
You're okay
gone.
with what other issues are there. And usually there aren't big issues in a home, but you're taking away that chance to research it.
That's right.
Okay, so let's say the deal falls apart. I find something and I need to back out. When do I get my earnest money back?
That's a pretty good question because that can get complicated. You've entered into a legally binding contract with earnest money deposited with a third party. And so in order for that money to be released by that uninterested third party, both you as a buyer and the seller have to sign and agree to where that money's going. And if you can't agree on that, then it sits in that account until that person says, I'm done holding this, and then they give it to the court. And then everybody has to hire attorneys and kind of go that route.
Wow.
So it's always better to have it very clear what happens to the earnest money, have your contingencies that are in the contract in place, and never try to do something you think you can do, but you can't fulfill on.
Okay.
And it can take weeks or months.
So weeks or months to get my earnest money back if I back
right.
it? Oh, wow.
They just have to both sign it.
They
they
both
both
have
have
to
to
sign.
agree. And you might have done everything exactly the way the contract reads, but if the seller interprets it differently,
That's right.
they might hold out on signing it, because it's your point of view versus their point of view. So, but if you back out at the end and you don't have any contingencies, don't plan on getting your earnest money back. Right. So,
Okay. Well, it sounds like with good information,
you can
we
make
can make
good
good
decisions.
decisions.